Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Monday the 13th of January comes to you from London. And we'll start by looking at currencies, then we'll look at global stock indices, some commodities, and last of all the energy mix, especially European energy. So if you're interested in energy, hang on to the end. And of course, I'm always happy to answer any comments, and if there's anything you want me to cover, just let me know. And please do like these videos, and if you're watching this on YouTube or LinkedIn groups or chartstoday.com, please do feel free, happy to share it, and just follow my profile on LinkedIn where I do post lots of charts. So we start by looking at the dollar index, and this is the daily chart on the left here. That's medium term time frame, and this is the 60-minute chart. That's short term time frame. So here we're thinking weeks ahead. Here we're thinking days ahead. So for the moment, the dollar is above the cloud. That's bullish on the daily, medium term, and short term. Interestingly, we had this downside target given off the thrust, but it's only orange because it wasn't activated. We need a move below that level to activate the target. On the upside, though, we have activated this upside target. We are hanging above the cloud. Does suggest the dollar might hit 107.50 on the index. That's 1.75% higher. So that's just quite an interesting start to look at. If we look at the euro, we've got the reverse situation with the euro where we've got a downside target not yet activated, but we've got this upside target, but we haven't yet got this target on the converse activated to the downside. The yen chart is really interesting, and one I do follow quite a lot because I find it's a good lead indicator for the dollar. We had this target generated back in April at 137 to 155. We know that 150 is a struggle for the yen. We see a lot of intervention for the Bank of Japan, but interestingly, we're sitting at 151.7. We are holding that. This was the upside target given back at the end of October, and we are just slowly, but it's clear that this is a level that's a struggle. So it'd be very interesting to see if we can make that target. And of course, if you're trading these currencies, you want to be looking at the 1-minute charts with the targets. Sterling is up slightly against the dollar this morning, but we interestingly see here that we've got a downside target as well. So it does look like it's going to be weaker, and that aligns with that stronger dollar index chart. Now, Bitcoin's been one that's very interesting. We have upside target that's activated off this recent rise to 61,000, but we do have a downside here. And what's interesting here is that we are seeing this downside target not yet activated. So if we move below this sort of 36,300 level, we will activate that. But for the moment, these are the targets that are in train. So that's really quite interesting there. Now, looking at markets, we've seen that the Nasdaq index has really had a strong showing here. And that's really quite interesting because what's really interesting is that there was the upside target that was given back in April on the medium term chart for the Nasdaq 100. Then we moved lower to a lower high, then a lower low, then a lower high, then a lower low. Classic Dow theory, taking us through the chart for the US tech index, but then we moved back above the cloud. So that's really quite interesting. This is quite a bullish run. The big thing is, will we move above this 1570? And of course, when you look at this structure of the chart, which is the lower high and lower low scenario, what we would normally expect to see is a pullback to a higher low and then a higher high to be confident that we've got a reversal. So it's still a bit early, and we don't have any clear upside targets on the medium term. This thrust will almost certainly give us a target. It's an uninterrupted buying thrust that gives us the target, then a pullback, and then an activation above that. So that's the ingredients that we're looking for. And again, there's a shortage of targets on the 60-minute as well. So it's just really one to watch. Again, if you're trading the Nasdaq short term or the S&P E-mini, which we're about to look at here, the S&P E-mini, just look at the 1-minute charts. That's going to be really key. And here on the S&P 60-minute chart, this is the E-mini, if we move higher, that will activate a new upside target to 45.60. So that's quite a move. We've got to wait for that target to be activated, and I can put an alert on that and say alert me when that target is turns green. So looking at the FTSE future this morning, we're up just under 1%. has been looking a little bit better. The downside targets still dominate on the daily chart, and for the 60-minute chart we do have a little upside target, but it's a real tussle going on the cloud. A very hard read here. We'd have to move through 7,800 to activate this new upside target to 8,800. So really, for the moment, these are the targets that are in train. If we look at the DAX, the cash market in Germany, we see a similar picture here, where we've got the downside targets dominating. We've had this relief rally like we've seen in the US. Have got an upside target here. We are holding the cloud. Looks a bit better than the FTSE. Just watch for this downside target on the short-term chart to be activated. Now, looking at Japan, fairly flat overnight. But interestingly, we're waiting for this downside target to be activated on the medium term. We have got back above the cloud, and we do have these short-term upside targets in train. That's how you resolve it. So this is the Nikkei 400. We've got the upside target on the daily and on the 60-minute. So it is looking a little bit better, and these downside targets are not activated, which is why they're orange. They will turn red if we move below the previous low. So that's the really big key here. Looking at some of the other markets, looking at China, hasn't been looking great on the daily. These downside targets really clear. We have got an upside target, but interestingly, we're diverging away from the target. So that's really telling us probably that this target is now failing, and that's one of the key things to realize there. The Aussie market, some of my Aussie stocks have been doing very well in this bounce, I must say, and we've seen here that we still do have the downside target there, and it's not quite clear on the upside. So you've really got to be a stock picker in that market. Looking at gold. Gold has been really struggling at this 2000 level. We've activated this downside target back to 1882. That's the move. We're below the cloud there. So for the moment, 2000 is off the cards. That resistance played its part, and we're now looking to these downside targets. So that's really quite key there. US 10-year yields have had a real pullback in the market as well. So that's been something to really keep an eye on as well. So here we see that pullback. And interestingly here, we do have this upside target back to near 5%. So it does, and we are still well above the cloud. So this pullback looks like a temporary thing on the medium-term time frame. Now, looking at the energy mix, we start by looking at Brent Crude. We went out with our clients this morning in our energy report. We've got downside targets on the medium-term chart. This one here was met. We've got a couple more at 74 and even 64. We're worried about 74 first. And interestingly, we've got one on the short-term 60-minute chart to 72. These downside targets. Upside target here would be activated if we move above 82, but at the previous high. But for the moment, it's the downside that's in train. US NatGas has been looking a little bit better. This morning, we went out as bullish to clients. We have an upside target there. That's actually been met. We can see the train tracks here, and that's really quite key as well. And in fact, looking at LNG, this one we talked about a couple of weeks ago, really running really high there on LNG. I don't have 60-minute data there, but really quite key. Now, looking at emissions, this is looking a little bit weaker again this morning, but we do have these new upside targets. We did cross the cloud on the price, but on the lagging line, we've hit the cloud. So carbon emissions just struggling to hold that cloud break. A move above 79 would be very bullish. That target was met. Got another one to 81.45. Again, if you're trading emissions, look at the 1-minute chart. Looking at gas, TTF first of all. This is the front month for TTF. And we see here that we've got these downward tracks on the short-term chart. So for this week, it's not looking great. But the medium-term chart, we've got quite a few upside targets. That 1 to 54 was given back at 31. That's been met. That was met much quicker than the target. And so that's really quite interesting. And MBP, of course, following suit as well. Now, looking at German power, we're getting near the end of the year, of course. So this contract's going to run out soon. But it's really quite interesting that we've had all these downward targets there on German power. There's just so many. And if we look at the 60-minute chart, it's been really, really clear cut. Now, this data coming from Thomson Reuters Icon, Refinitiv Icon. But if I look at the other data, this is from EEX. This is Refinitiv Icon still. We see here the targets on that 60-minute chart. Really, really clear cut. And the big question is, will we go below 100 before the year end? We do have a target to 96, 106 and 110. This is the train tracks. It's not looking good. And if we go to the 5-minute chart, if you're trading at short term, We see all the targets here, again, just pointing lower for today and tomorrow. So if you're trading German power, these are the targets you need to be looking at. You can look at that on your Trayport data, of course, as well. That's it for today. To remember to like these for me. Until tomorrow, happy charting. Bye for now.